Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a closer look at the full moon in Cancer. This is a full moon in a conjunction to Mars. This is a full moon making an aspect to Uranus. This is a full moon also loosely making an aspect to Neptune. There's a lot in this vibration that speaks to some unexpected disruptions that we did not see coming. And there's a multitude of ways that that can manifest depending on where this full moon is falling in your chart. Now, I'm going to do a couple things in the beginning that I would normally do is like ascendant directions in the like right before I get into the signs, but I have more and more people listening to me for the first time. So I want to cover this real quick. I'm an intuitive astrologer. I look at what I see in the pattern of my clients. In addition to that, I look at the pattern that I'm seeing in the transits, whatever starts to come up in the themes in my meditation, and how I'm reading this intuitively in a holistic, full spectrum, everybody's got something going on vibration. I don't try to skew it to just my rising sign. I try to do this from a big picture perspective. And I don't normally have a whole lot of people tell me that I'm not doing it very well. So I hope that helps. In the first part of this, I will go over some elements of what I'm seeing in the vibration of the full moon from everybody's perspective. But then, whenever we get into the timestamps, I will narrow it down to each individual rising sign and the things that I start to pick up intuitively. I also pull tarot cards when I do these lunar cycle transits. I normally do. Those pictures of those tarot cards get posted on my Facebook, on my Instagram, and it should be getting posted now on my website. I don't have anything telling me I'm not going to be able to post them on there, but we're going to find out together today because this is the first time I try to do it this way. So pictures will get posted in different areas of social media and or the website. Like I said, the whole idea is to give everybody a good idea of what's coming through. So let's get into the full moon. Let's think about this. This is a full moon in Cancer. It's the sign of mothers and matrons and family and roots and ancestry. There's also a little bit of genetics that go in there. A lot of astrologers for thousands of years, they didn't think of the idea of genetics. But the thing is like there's a lot of things that are inherited that are not tangible. They're internal. And there can be things that has to do with our genetics or our DNA that starts to come through also in this full moon, again, depending on how this is landing for you. But it is a full moon in a conjunction to a very retrograde Mars. Now, over the weekend, Mars made an exact trine to Neptune, and it was the second one. For some people, some of the things that are starting to come up in this full moon go back to decisions, people, places, things we were dealing with in October. Now, the reason I say that is because that's when the first trine between Mars and Neptune occurred. But in addition to that, we have Uranus, that Uranian quality. Neptune has this vibration of fogging the senses, clouding our judgment, making us not see certain things clearly. In some ways, it has to do with like believing in hoping and looking at the big picture in regards to like, if I just have belief, it will manifest. And this is true, like 30% of the time. It's not a forever thing. I hate to say that. I want to be more hopeful when it comes to Neptune vibration, but I've narrowed this down before. About 30% of the time, it's spiritual, woo woo type of things. The other 60 to 70%, lies, fraud, deception, cheating, backstabbing, the ability to pull the wool over someone's eyes while also having the ability to come back around and get a little bit more clarity. In the vibration of this full moon and the week around this full moon, it's not just the full moon. I said that in the week ahead forecast. I'm saying that again now. In the week of this full moon, certain beliefs can be undone. They can be disrupted. Certain symptoms That's going to go more into the bodily aspect, and I'll have conversations about that too here in a minute. Certain symptoms, certain things that have clouded our judgment by choice or by real world scenarios. Now, what would be something by choice? A little drinky drink, little extra something to cloud our judgment, to fog our senses. I mean, uptick of the desire to not see reality at the moment whenever we have Neptune transits, and that's a real thing. But Neptune also has a familiar aspect to the immune system. And not just the immune system, but also our lymphatic system. It has aspects to the feet, lymphatic system, the way our bodies, the fluid within our bodies, the membrane of our bodies, not the blood, that's Mars. But there can be impacts that are going to affect the body whenever it comes to this full moon, especially things that have to do with the chest or your reproductive sexual organs, combining a lot of things into one concept right there. Now, why am I saying all of that? There is a nurturing aspect to Cancer. I want to care for you. I want to be cared for. I want us all to be comfortable. I want us all to grow and thrive. I want certain considerations. There is an emotional element to Cancer. But Mars is the god of war. And he don't see things that way. He doesn't look at things that way. And when he is retrograde, he doesn't act right. Not at all. He does not act right. He doesn't want to do anything the way that he's supposed to. And you're going to see patterns of certain people either dealing with situations that just keep coming out in the funkiest way possible, or certain people are not acting right, or based off of how it can impact the immune system and the body, they're not acting right, but in a different way. Yes, I had a tone change there. I've seen elements of all of it. Mars is the disruptor. This is a week of emotional turbulence, emotional disruption. Who we care for, how we care for them, what we're doing to care for certain people is going to get disrupted. And that can happen to, and it happen to, sure, happen in a multitude of ways. I blended words right there. Y'all know I goof this up sometimes, but I'm a real person, so you see the bloopers. Disruptions, disconnections, the inability to care for something, the inability to make certain connections that are needed in this moment to care for something. We can't get the medicine. We can't get the money. We can't get dad into the doctor. It's going to be like 2-3 months. We don't know what's going on. We went to the emergency room. We don't know what's going on. They didn't give us an answer. Oh, they're just down there, just not behaving right. Can't find anything in the labs. Can't find anything here. Disruptions. Things are not acting right. People are not acting right. And there will be a portion of the people that are dealing with this on a health aspect, whether that is your health, Cancer risings, your health, whether that is the health of another person, your family, your friends, your colleagues, your coworkers. Disruptions. But it's not just always about health. For some people, it is going to be disruptions in the family, disruptions around mothers and matrons, disruptions around those that provide us security. And in some ways, some people that have been giving security over and over again to another person can suddenly cut the cord and pull the plug and do that level of disconnection. I'm cutting off your credit cards. You don't have access here. You don't live here anymore. And there can be cuts and cutoffs and disconnections in that type of way. Things that force you to move, things that enforce a certain level of insecurity, emotional insecurity, dwelling structure surrounding insecurity. There are going to be a lot of insecurities that start to come through around this full moon. But there's another way those disconnects can come through, and that can be the disconnect in relationship. Now, one of the things I said last time go around, whenever Mars was in Cancer, the first go round, specifically between September 4th and November 3rd, if I'm doing that, I did that all from memory, so I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure it's September 4th to November 3rd, so 2 full months. When Mars was in Cancer before, I said, if you can't get control of your emotions, how the hell are you going to handle January? Hi, it's January. How you doing? Some people were able to get out of the funk a little bit. But now that we're in the new year, it's like, okay, back to the grind. Holidays are over. Holidays be damned, but holidays are over. We're doing something different. I'm trying to pick this back up, but you're picking back up on something that isn't the same. Something's not the same. Something's not acting right. Something has changed. People have changed. Atmospheres has changed. Environments have changed. So your ability to pick back up on something is not quite the same. And for many of you, what you've been dealing with over the last few months have been insecurities in relationships, emotional insecurities in relationships. And this full moon being conjunct Mars can lead to those levels of disconnect, breakups, forms of isolation. You're trying and trying and trying to make something happen. You guys both agreed to focus on something different for a little while. And then when we're back to the new year and we're starting to talk again, but things aren't vibing. Things aren't connecting. And it's starting to make you realize that you have to disconnect, whether you want the disconnection or not, whether they want the disconnection or not. There's a disconnect. We ain't acting right. Things aren't moving right. Things don't feel right. And if they don't feel secure, and if they don't feel right, I don't want it. And there will be breakups in this full moon's vibration, in the week, not just the full moon. I'm saying it again. The entire week is a hellacious week. I don't want to say hellacious. That doesn't seem fair, but it definitely feels like very solidifying. Planting a line, planting your feet, like just like anchor, no, wall, judgment, no, this week. The full moon is one element to that. If you want more understanding of that, go look at the month ahead, or so the week ahead forecast as to why I'm saying the rest of that. But there's something there. And for some people, it will be unexpected. You think that you're connecting again and everything's vibrating. You're going to walk in the door. You're going to walk into your boss's office, and it's going to be exactly the opposite. Things aren't the same. And there's going to be something that erupts and disrupts based off of some people that are in positions of power. And there are layers to why I'm saying that, but it is still applicable. Now, there are some times whenever we have full moons in Cancer, they feel like emotional release and telling people how we feel and them being receptive. And it's got like an over romantic drive. And for some of you, you feel like that's exactly how this is going to go. And one element has to do with the fact that Venus is in Pisces and she wants everything to be romantic and normal. But Mars in Cancer can't connect. He's not acting right. And if he does connect, hear me out, it'll only be temporary. If he does give in to his emotions, it'll only be temporary because Mars is retrograde and we are in temporary energy. And we are going to continue to be in temporary energy for one reason or another until April 13th. I'm reminding people of that. And this is why I keep saying it's not a good time for relationships. People that have been in relationships for a while trying to make something work it's not necessarily going to work. It's like we're hitting a brick wall. Partners aren't acting right. And there is a big portion of this week that feels like the not acting right scenarios, once they come to light, once they are seen, once they are understood, once somebody gets caught in the act, not acting right, however that works out, you do you. The exposure will have an immediate impact towards a change in plans. And when I say immediate, I didn't stutter. Immediate. As a whole, as a collective, going into these parts of January, the first 2 weeks were blending and transitioning and little shift and shift and shift and shift. But now that the nodes have changed signs, now that we're into the second half of January, which this full moon kind of instigates the second half of January, by the way, a lot of where we're going next and focusing on next is going to be new. And a lot of the decisions, the vibrations, the disconnect, the reconnect, the not acting right situations of this week are going to solidify a lot of where our focus shifts throughout the rest of spring. And it won't necessarily feel in the moment like a big decision. For some it will, for others not so much. But the ripple effect, the follow through, the trickle, how things progress, how things continue, and how things work from this vibration will have a magnitude behind it. And there's a reason for certain disconnects. There are reasons for certain emotional uproar. For some people, it is to force that next level of full-on separation. For other people, it is a test. For a lot of people, this is a test. And it is to see if you have learned the lessons from all the things from before. And I'm not saying timelines this time. I'm just saying, have you learned your lessons? Some of you have. Others are going to find yourself repeating the same pattern throughout the spring with a different person in a different place, in a different situation. And you're going to land in the same place as you were before, but with a whole different level of egg on your face. Lean into Saturn. I can't say this enough right now. Lean into Saturn versus Mars. But given the fact that Mars is such a dominant part of this full moon, it can't be ignored. So the things that come through in this full moon, for a lot of people, are showing you where the disruptions have been and where we need to stop with the same old song and dance. We need to change partners. We need to change the rhythm. We need to learn a different dance. We need to go to a different dance studio. We need to do something different. But if you've been struggling to understand where you go next, where the difference is going to be, a lot of this full moon is going to show you the who, the what, the when, the where, the how, the why. Okay. Again, if this is the first time that you listen to me on this, it does not matter to me if your ascendant is at 2 degrees or 22 degrees. The entire zodiac sign that your ascendant is in, to me, is your first house, and every numerical house that follows is going to be associated with the next zodiac sign. So with that in mind, we're going to get to Aries and Aries risings. Oh, my loves, my loves, my loves. This is a full moon in your 4th house of home life, family, roots, ancestry. There's the sextile to Uranus in your 2nd house of money. There is the conjunction to Mars, who is your chart ruler. So I know a lot of you are feeling this. as well as the aspect between Mars and Neptune, with Neptune being in your 12th. You guys can be making some decisions about your family, about your household, that you are not seeing clearly. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that Neptune is in your 12th. Now, for some of you, you know exactly what that means. Like, okay, we have to move, going off of the idea of like moving the family. We have to move, but we're moving to a place that we don't know. And that would explain the Neptune in the 12th. We have to believe that something can get better. Some of us are going to be forced in this full moon to literally make certain moves, to make certain connections. And there's a reason that we have to start leaving certain things behind. And that has to do with the fact that we don't need to stay stuck. That's going to be a key word here in just a second. Stuck, again, in the same old song and dance. Now, for some of you, this is going to have to do with mothers and fathers. And you can see certain frustrations that are going on, again, in the family dynamic. For some of you, you are the mother versus the father. And you're having an issue with anyone and everyone tied to the family. I don't want to isolate it to one specific area. It can be financial issues. It can be blindsiding issues. There can be lies, fraud, and deception. But there is this element of, I'm tired of feeling so stuck. Hangman card. So to get unstuck, we have to make certain decisions. There's a certain amount of work that needs to be done. We have this 3 of coins with the hangman. And then we also have this 4 of swords. There is a certain amount of work and preparation, 4 of swords, to be able to achieve, to be able to connect, to get to where you guys are going next. I have said this to you repeatedly, Aries risings, from last year's eclipse on April 8th to the final Aries eclipse that we're going to have on March 29th. You are transforming. You are changing. The person that you are about to be going into the second part of 2025, we're only in January, but the second part of 2025 going into 2026, you are not meant to be the same person. So you have to make the decisions to get unstuck. Going back to this hangman, this 3 of coins, and the 4 of swords. You have to let the past fall away. That means, again, doing a certain amount of work. I have this 8 of coins now. In addition to that, we have the 7 of swords, and we have the 2 of cups. There are certain amounts of connections. There's a certain amount of commitment. Yes, the 2 of cups is a lover's card. I am not focused on love right now. I am focused on the very strong, opinionated conversation, 7 of swords, that is either going to force certain things to finally come together, or I'm looking at the opportunity, 8 of coins, based off of work and the potential of like a relocation from that perspective, that is going to allow for certain things to finally come together. You are transitioning from one dynamic to the next. You're not meant to stay the same person that you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. You are transforming into something and someone new. And whenever you have these shakeups, whether it's in your family, whether it's, somebody from the past coming back around and like literally showing up at your door in this full moon going, "Hi, I tried to call you, but it's like my number's blocked." Bruh, your number's blocked for a reason. Don't come to my house. There's a reason for the disruption. There's a reason for the tension. There's a reason for the arguments. And for many of you, I'm not saying this to everybody, I'm saying it to you. It is to force you into making different steps, taking different strides to go down a new path. Now, are you doing that all in this full moon? Not necessarily. The energetic wave that is taking us all the way into springtime, yeah. You have been changing for a very long time. And I've told a lot of you this individually, one-on-one, in our one-on-one sessions, but I've meant it. This is a heavier full moon for many of you. And you could be finally making certain decisions to cut certain things out, to get unstuck, and get more prepared for the potential, the growth, the change that will follow. And for many of you, that means looking at a different home, moving to a different location, moving to different places. And for even more of you, if we're looking at the full on relocation, it's going to be someplace that you're not used to being. It's going to be like foreign land, even if that's just 2 states over. But that climate change, the quality change, the air change, the financial change, the cost of living, whatever it is, the whole dynamic of it is purposeful. It's showing you something. Some of you are just going to have the mundane things of just tension in the household. Others are going to have the full course of action showing you direction and path as to where you're going to go next. Don't stay stuck. You don't have to. Okay, moving along. We're going to get to Taurus and Taurus risings. Oh, my loves. Okay. This is a full moon in your 3rd house, which is actually a travel house. It's education, early education. There can be a lot of things tied to different levels of communication, marketing, branding, wanting to change a way that you connect to certain people. Now, why do I say it that way? This isn't a heavy full moon for you guys, and the types of decisions that you could be making in this full moon can be a lot more pivotal in regards to, again, how you're connecting to people, because this full moon is aspecting, again, Uranus in your 1st house. Mars is in that trine to Neptune in your 11th house of friends. But hey, where's your chart ruler? Also in your 11th house of friends and network and clients and colleagues and people you choose to share your space with. We can be making very active decisions to build something new, to launch something here in the near future, but that also means taking very studious, steady steps in the moment to make sure that whatever we start to bring together later has strong potential. Now, some of you in the most mundane sense around this full moon might be forced to travel, might be forced to take a path, might be forced to go somewhere unexpectedly. And I want you to be very, very careful with driving because, again, this is a full moon in your 3rd house conjunct Mars. Be careful with driving and, just keep an eye on your vehicle. Sometimes there's just something going on with the vehicle and it ends up in the shop for a week. Am I wishing negative things for you? No. Am I being realistic? Absolutely. Shit happens. It just does. Now, some of you can also have some issues whenever it comes to siblings, whenever it comes to a full moon in your 3rd house, and it can be based off, again, what's been said by other people in your surroundings. Like you've been taking your sister around your buddies, and it's like, hey, whenever you're not around, like as soon as you're gone, your sister's got like mad shit to say about you. Like she's super two-faced. Are all sisters two-faced? I mean, we all got phases. I'm the oldest of 16 kids. They all got phases. But sometimes people just don't want to act right. Mars is retrograde. So she could be testing boundaries. I'm just blaming it on sisters right now. Testing boundaries, pushing buttons, and other people are seeing it a little bit more than you are. That's a negative aspect, with this also being, again, a house of siblings. It could be the idea of your sibling that helps you make certain connections as to how you're going to go moving forward. Now, the thing about Taurus risings, y'all slow moving energy, got the Knight of Coins first. You've been in a slow, steady space and pace to get to something new. And we've been trying to build something that is going to be like our new tradition. It's our new footing. It's our new bounds. It's our new boundaries with this Hierophant card. The thing is, there's certain decisions, King of Swords, certain decisions, logical decisions, structured decisions that must be made from a non-emotional standpoint. Now, this is a full moon in Cancer, but the King of Swords is an air card. There is no emotion whenever it comes to this. And this can also speak to timeline. Right after this full moon, by the end of the week, the sun is going to go into Aquarius. It's going to go into an air sign, which is your 10th house of career. You can be making certain decisions right now, marketing decisions, communication decisions, big picture, long distance decisions of new ways that you want to make money. And that's long game aspects as to why I'm saying it that way. That need a very logical tone, King of Swords, for you to be able to launch forward. Now we've got our next three cards. We have the Knight of Wands. Launch, baby. Launch it, launch it, launch it. Mars is the god of war, and he does not do things slowly. Launch it. We have this Two of Cups vibration. So not only do we have the Knight of Wands, but we have the Two of Cups. So we want to push something forward while also allowing certain things to come together and certain things to connect. There can be certain things that as we launch, it's like as soon as somebody sees it, they're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Where can I get more? How can I have more of this? What am I going to do next? And not all of you are going to be ready for that level of conversation because the whole idea has been launched. Now, some of you will be. And you're going to be able to take good with the bad. You're going to be able to take the pros with the cons. But there is going to be some potential tension and issues. And the final card you have here is the Five of Swords. Now, if there are issues for you guys, I feel like that would be closer to the weekend whenever Venus makes that conjunction to Saturn. Some of you, being the Venus ruled people, are going to feel judged. Some of you are going to be pushing for another person to be more accountable for certain things based off of how this week has gone. Now, in the full moon, do we have to make all of these hard, logical decisions? Not really. But I feel like there's something kind of coming to the forefront, kind of coming to light that's going to allow for you guys to finally focus on some forward movement, but that forward movement feels more towards February. So after Uranus turns direct, which that's going to happen at the end of the month, and after we get through like the new moon in Aquarius. So like this is the vibration that I'm looking at. You're laying groundwork right now and making very hard decisions, going back to this Five of Swords. Five of Swords is a conflict card, but it's like overcoming the obstacles. We're in an obstacle course energy anyways. So there's a certain amount of us that we are trying to overcome certain obstacles, again, to get more things launched, announced, pronounced, moving. Because in the long run, we have a whole different way that we're going to start making money. And that's stuff that's going to be coming out more and more as we get deeper into 2025 and then later 2026 and beyond. Okay. Okay. Moving along. We're going to get to Geminis and Gemini risings. Oh, my loves, this is not a new moon, full moon in your second house of money, your assets, your business, your stuff. Now, many of you have just had a lot of crazy negotiation type things. You've had some back and forth type of issues over the last 60 days or so. And I'm mainly accounting for Mercury being in Sagittarius. So that's why I'm saying roughly 60 days. It's a little bit longer than that. But I'm thinking of Mercury's retrograde in your seventh house. Many of you just had to go through major shifts in negotiations with certain partners, with certain people. And that in some way, shape, or form is now impacting your pocketbook. It's impacting the money. It's impacting the wallet. Why am I saying it that way? Because Jupiter in your first, but I'm also looking at Mercury, your chart ruler, is in your eighth house. A lot of this energy and a lot of this transit for you guys speaks to money. What's costing you money, where you're going to have to spend some money, where you're going to have to put some things together. Some of you are going to try to go do something and you're going to realize that there's been some level, again, a financial cutoff, or you don't have the funds to do something. You need to do something, but it's like, it's just not there. Some of you are going to have a major disruptive issue in some way, and then all of a sudden it's going to cost you money. Some of you have had to do certain things, again, around your assets, or you've been looking at things in regards to your career. Now I'm putting more focus on the fact that Saturn is in your 10th. Some of you had put more focus on certain things in career, and you're starting to realize that where you've been, who you've been spending your time with, where you've been putting your time cannot remain the same. And this can be a very heightened point in the energy that is going to allow for certain things to finally change for you and go in a different direction whenever it comes to certain truths coming to light. Now, I know that sounds kind of hinky. Why am I saying truths coming to light? Because you guys got like half of these are air cards. They're swords. So we have the Knight of Swords. We have the Seven of Swords. We're going to do all the swords up front. And we have the Page of Swords. Now, the page can have to do with kids, but more often than not, especially with the fact that you are an air sign anyways, there is something about the news, the knowledge, the decisions, some type of new opportunity, new knowledge, new things coming through that are being pursued either by you or by another person, like people that are on your team. And there's still conflict involved whenever it comes to the Seven of Swords, but there's new information, new ideas. There's something new coming to light. And for some of you, it's a very long time coming. Why do I say that? Because your next card is the Seven of Coins. The Seven of Coins, it's the seed card. It's you plant the seed with the idea that you want the full crop later. It is after all of the work is done that you reap the reward. Seeds have been planted. Many of you are either planting seeds in this moment and you're doing something different that's going to allow for more money to come later after Mars is direct, or you're having something come through that has a long time coming that again still has a financial impact because this is still a full moon in your second house of money. So either we have certain crops that are about to come to harvest with this Seven of Coins energy, or you are planting seeds in this full moon. Some of you guys, you know exactly where you're at. You know that you're about to get the payout, or you know you're about to do something to plant those seeds into where you're going to go next. Next two cards you have is the Magician card and the Five of Wands. Now, the Five of Wands is kind of a conflict card. It's kind of combative. He said, she said. And anytime you're stuck in he said, she said situations, you need to make sure you have the things to cover your ass. CYA mentality. When I still worked in real estate, I literally had a folder on my computer that was called CYA. Copies of emails, second copies of signature pages, anything like that. Anything that I wanted to document went into that folder. I didn't care what it was. I was going to have it. There is a CYA mentality. So be expecting some level of conflict, but even in that conflict, it's like something arrives, something that can come through, something that is unexpected. When I look at the Magician card, I also look at it as like the alchemist. You giving me all the ingredients and I'm just going to MacGyver this into something much bigger than you are anticipating. For some people, again, going back to this Seven of Coins vibration, either you're planting the seeds now, you're doing something behind the scenes, you're moving in the shadows a little bit to get something with a higher return later, or again, something is finally coming to the forefront, finally coming to a close that is a long time coming. And it's just like the right things are going to finally fall into place that allows for certain levels of disruption. Some of you, this is going to cost you money, but sometimes you have to spend a little money to make money later. Be prepared for that. Okay. Moving this along. We're going to get to the star of the show. Cancers and Cancer risings. Oh my God. You are the problem. Not really. It's not really your fault. Like, you can't control where this retrograde started and how it's impacting you. But I want to be clear about some things whenever it comes to this timeline for the Cancer risings. I can see this in a multitude of different ways. One, Mars is the ruler of your 10th house of career and your 5th house of children. So there can be something about whatever's been going on with your children that is starting to fall onto your plate in a whole different way that you were not anticipating with the Mars retrograde. For other people, it's the goals, the dreams, our hopes for the future. And this is more so what I anticipate with a lot of Mars retrograde people, Cancer risings with Mars retrograde, are goals and aspects for the future. Mars being the ruler of your 10th house of career is now putting so much pressure for you to do some level of change. And if you haven't actually been moving with this energy, if you've been resistant to change, resistant to certain ideas, then the amount of pressure, strain, Stress is going to come through you. This is a fork in the road kind of energy for many of the Cancer risings. You have to do something different. Now, some of you have already made that decision to go in a different direction. Some of you have remained stagnant, not willing to change, not willing to move. And this energy has put some levels of unnecessary pressure onto you. And it's going to have harmful manifestations in some type of way. Now, why am I saying all of that? Mars rules the head. Mars is in your first house. I've warned that whenever Mars is in your first house, you are a little bit more accident prone. You can be a little bit more argumentative, a little bit more intense in your conversations, a little bit meaner in the things that you say. That's Mars's energy in your first, but Mars is retrograde. It's not just a direct Mars. Mars is retrograde. So you're a little bit of meaner can also be coming through and manifesting in a whole different way. And it can be something that manifests inside your body. It can impact you as an individual. For some of you, this can be something that is quite literally manifesting in your health. For some of you, this is going to be a disruption in your identity. You did just end a very long cycle of Pluto in your seventh house of relationships. And some of you, this is going to be your D-Day. And by D, I mean divorce, baby. This is going to be that timeline where your identity is going to change. Some of you, you are making the decision to change your identity. And I mean this in the sense of like, you're going into business for yourself. You're going to be going down a different path and you're making certain choices to do that. And again, if you have tried to remain stagnant and stuck in your ways, then the stress and the strain of the universe is going to be a lot more harmful with Mars in your first house. Now, the first card that we have is the Emperor card. The Emperor wishes to have some level of achievement. He has achieved certain things, but then once he has achieved certain things, he's kind of stuck in his ways. The Emperor is actually not the greatest way to be. So the people, again, that have been stuck in their ways are going to be forced to make decisions that they did not necessarily want to make. The thing about the Two of Swords, going on to the next card now, is in the traditional deck, this is a woman with a blindfold on, holding two swords, but not making the decision as to which one she's going to use and which one she's going to put down. She doesn't even want to face the decision. That is why she is blindfolded. This full moon, for a lot of people, is going to remove the blinders. It's going to remove that blindfold. And it is going to force you to face certain things, whether that is in your physical health, full moon in your first, Mars in your first. Whether this has to do with your career, Mars ruling your 10th house of career, and again, full moon in your first. Or whether this is having to do with your children, there's something that it's making you face in this vibration. Okay. Once you pick the new path, now the thing about the Two of Wands is it's very much about the fork in the road energy. You've been going down a path a certain way for a certain amount of time, and now another opportunity is there, and you have to go the idea of choosing one path or the other, the one that is familiar or the one that is new. For so many of you, new is necessary, Ace of Coins. And for many more of you, not only is new necessary, but that new vibration is going to have a certain amount of reaping reward that is bountiful only to you. With this 9 of coins. Now, if you put the ace and the 9 together collectively, this is a 10 of coins. Put that part in perspective. I always call the 9 of coins like a boss bitch card. It's a woman, has her own land, grows her own crops, sells her crops, makes her money, does everything on her own. The movement forward is about what is going to be best for you, Cancer risings. And for many of you, you're not going to be able to tell everybody what your plans are. You're not going to be able to tell everybody what you're working on. Your last card is this 4 of coins. For some of you, you're going to have to keep some of your cards closer to your chest until it is the right time. Do not make decisions in this energy that's going to be better for everyone else. That's going to be right for everybody, because that's not what's right for you. Now, for some of you, you have no choice. You have young kids and you have to do what's best for everybody. And that I understand. That is a different concept. But you still need to have a focus on what's going to be best for you to be able to care for those children properly, to set a good example for them, to achieve and show them what can be achieved. Now, the negative side of this full moon, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this, there are going to be impacts to the body that are related to blood and blood pressure, things that impact the head. Notice I said the word impact. I hate saying this next part, but I'm being very, very real. And if any of you are in negative situations in regards to relationships, the vibration around Mars can have a physical negative impact. I'm saying that as nicely as I can for the YouTube, Spotify, social media gods. I'm saying that as best as I can. That forces you in a volatile way to finally make changes. There is a necessary disconnect. Many of you have to make certain decisions to disconnect from certain vibrations, certain places, certain people, because of how they are impacting your mind, your body, your heart, your soul. And by accepting whatever change is necessary, it's going to allow for something different to unfold in the future. Make good decisions and don't stay stuck in things that you don't deserve to be stuck in. And if this is impacting your health, treatments and stuff like that might not be easily identified or easily worked with. I just want to be clear about that. Because Mars is retrograde in your first, and he won't turn direct until the end of February. Okay, moving this along. Moving along, we're going to get to Leos and Leo risings. Okay, my loves, this is a full moon in your 12th house, the unknown, the unseen, endings, things from the past, hollow ground, things that need to be healed, things that can be blindsiding, understanding and that certain conversations and decisions have been done behind your back. This is a full moon in your 12th house. I want you guys to be prepared for certain levels of blindsiding. I want you to be prepared to be stuck in situations that feel almost foreign to you. You might be in the same place. You're going to the same job every day, but some element of this job just feels really weird. All of your coworkers are different. Your shift is different. Something is different with the people that are around you all of the time. And you almost feel like a fish out of water, but you ain't a fish, baby. You're not. You're a Leo rising. And that means coming to terms with certain new truths that in some ways certain people can be getting left behind. And even more so, you guys can feel like you're getting left behind or that you have been misled. And in some ways that might be true. In other ways, it could be a matter of your perception. Now, a lot of things about 12 house full moons can bring up deep-seated insecurities. And you guys are no exception in this. There can be a lot of overwhelm and insecurities that are brought to the forefront, even if whatever happens in this full moon is bringing certain truths to the forefront. There are sometimes we don't like the truth. We don't like these versions of facts. No, I want it to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. I just want everyone to vibrate with me and do the things that I want to do because I'm a Leo rising. Right? Right? No. Be expecting certain levels of insecurities in this full moon to come to the forefront. People saying things behind your back, people doing certain things that make you feel a little bit more withdrawn, like whether you're choosing to withdraw or you're feeling pushed out. There are elements here that speak to exactly that. Now, for some of you, it was your attitude that caused the situation. Why do I say that? Because originally Mars was retrograde in your first house. It was in Leo. It has just recently gone back into Cancer. So some of those reactions to things, the disruptions, the disconnect that are almost blindsiding to you, Some of you cause them. Not all of you. Let's be fair, not all of you, but some of you. So, Ace of Swords, Five of Coin, Seven of Cups. Now, the Ace of Swords is like a new information, new truth, new knowledge, new path, something new coming to the forefront. There is certain amounts of truth and knowledge and information that is going to come through, and there's no emotion involved whenever it comes to this new information. The Five of Coins, it's a desolate card. It's a bankrupt card. It's feeling like things aren't going your way. Now, considering the other half of this dynamic through this full moon is also Mars in the 12th, making a trine to Neptune in your 8th, there can be a financial element of things just not going your way, not getting certain payouts, or discovering that something was wrong last year and now having whatever that mistake was last year, whenever we had the first Mars Neptune trine. And again, that was in October, but it might not be just the October stuff. Let's be clear. You've had a bunch of stuff going through your 8th house in the last 2 years. Whenever it comes to that 8th house, taxes, inheritance, other people's money vibration, there can be something that is changing in this area that, again, makes you feel very, very overwhelmed. Seven of Cups. This is an overwhelmed card. I always think of like with the Seven of Cups, somebody's trying to like get all the plates, the little people, the people that try to like turn a bunch of sticks and plates all at the same time, and they're trying to keep all the plates rotating in the air, and we just don't want the plates to come crashing to the floor, but eventually people get tired, shit happens, plates come crashing to the floor. There can be some things that come crashing to the floor. Some of you can come crashing to the floor. Some of you can see the mess of somebody else allowing something to crash to the floor and be like, oh, not my pig, not my farm, and just beeline in another direction. And I need people to be prepared for the past coming back around, for old insecurities coming through, emotional insecurities coming to the forefront, especially after the full moon, when the moon does come into Leo. And again, some of those past vibrations bringing new things to the forefront, making you aware of them. Now I have this Knight of Cups, we have this Three of Swords, and we have this Magician card. The Magician card is a mercurial card. There is a lot of information that is changing. There's a lot of things that are starting to develop into something new, new patterns, new process, new procedures, new things in regards to your wellness and in regards to your health. But in addition to that, we have that Three of Swords and we have that Knight of Cups. For some of you, the blindsiding of stuff in your 12th house is going to have to do with somebody else's actions of where they're going forward, Knight of Cups, but feeling betrayed in the process. Now, one of the things I've said to Leo risings repeatedly over the last 6-7 months is that since Jupiter has went into Gemini, many of you have been going through lessons between understanding the difference between friends and lovers. Some people have only, I don't want to say it that way. Some people have been having major lessons of getting into a relationship with somebody that should never have been more than a friend. They should have only been your friend, but yet we sleep with them. Yet they're our boyfriend, they're our girlfriend, they're something. And again, there could be something blindsiding in the full moon that once you become aware of it, which would be immediately following the full moon, so going into like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, once it falls onto your plate, once it comes to light, you're just like, the hell is this? I don't know anything about this. I didn't know that they spent this money on my card. I didn't know that they had done this type of thing. I didn't know he felt that way. I didn't know he'd been saying that kind of shit. And it's like, as new things and new information comes to light, it does this on course of shaking up vibration that just brings up a whole lot of overwhelm and insecurity. Now, for Leo risings, that is not just specific to the full moon. In a lot of ways, whenever it comes to the blindsiding, the insecurities, the stuff going on behind your backs coming to the forefront, that can be the entire lunar month. What do I mean by that? That could be the full moon in Cancer all the way to the full moon in Leo. And I need you guys to be prepared for that. Okay, moving along. Moving along. we're going to get to Virgos and Virgo risings. Oh, my loves. This is a full moon in your 11th house of friends and network and clients and colleagues. And there could be certain people in your friend group, in your surroundings, you ain't happy with. They ain't happy with you. Somebody ain't acting right. Somebody ain't doing something right. Some of you might be ending a relationship and or a friendship whenever it comes to parts of this week. Some of you can be firing your buyers, firing your clients because they keep disrupting things in your peace. Some of you could be having some issues in regards to the children, humor me as I say this, of another, not necessarily your children. It could be the way their children are interacting with your children, but it doesn't have to be your children. The thing about the 11th house is it's fifth from the 7th. So that can be the children of other people. And if you're not necessarily prepared for that, if you're not necessarily used to that, it can be a little interesting as to like what comes to the forefront and what gets revealed. So when it comes to this full moon, we can have some emotional shakeups, some logical shakeups when it comes to certain people that we choose to share our space with. And for some people, it's going to be a long time coming. For other people, you're not going to be prepared for how the conversation goes and how fast things are moving and changing in the process of one particular conversation. Now, why do I say that? I have the Four of Swords. Now, in the classic deck, the Four of Swords is a man laying on top of an empty casket. And this empty casket is, for some people, it's right before we go to war. And he's prepared to not come back alive. For other people, this is going to be post-war. So it's going to be post a certain situation. And the man does come back, but he survives. So he's laying on this casket, contemplating life as to like, what the hell do I do next? Because again, he did not anticipate being back. Some of you are at the start of something with this full moon in Cancer, the start of a battle, the start of arguments, the start of shakeups, the start of certain breakups, the start of a transitional energy changing the way that you connect to certain communities and connect to certain people. Four of Swords. There's going to be a lot of tension and frustration in regards to how we get things going with the Five of Swords. It's a kind of a combative card. It's kind of an argumentative card. And some people are just not going to jive with where you're going next with the Eight of Swords. Oh, sometimes we just have to face that certain people on our team, certain people that we surround ourselves with, certain clients, certain colleagues, certain friends, certain business partners do not fit the long-term picture of where we are going. And for you to be able to level up and connect to the people that you're meant to start connecting to next, that means making space in a multitude of different ways and cutting out certain connections and certain relationships. For some of you, again, the cutoff, the cutout, that disruption is a long time coming. Seven of Coins. For others, even with that being a long time coming, we can still be planting seeds for how something is going to be beneficial later. And that can, again, come through with this Seven of Coins energy. Now we have the Moon card. Of course, we are talking about a full moon in Cancer. We are talking about a full moon in the moon sign. But the thing about the moon is the fact that it only reflects light. It does not provide light. It is not a source of light. And the reflection of those lights does not necessarily showcase everything all at once. There's still some unknown in the vibration. There's still some parts of this that doesn't feel real quite yet. But again, everything from this point forward, especially for you guys, as we ramp up towards that first eclipse season, and considering the first eclipse is going to be a Virgo eclipse, therefore it's going to be in your first house, the way things move forward from here is going to be very, very fast paced for many of you. Now, is every day going to be fast paced? No, but whenever we're in that hindsight's 2020 vibration, it's like we're going to look back as to like how much has changed over the course of 2 to 3 months. And it's going to be like a night and day difference by the time we get into like March and April. There's a reason for this pivotal disruption, whether it's a positive one or a negative one for you guys. That's going to be different for everybody, but it is showcasing something. And it is also allowing you to recognize more and more some of the control that you need to let go of. And that's now specific to the fact that the South Node is in your first house, but that's a different conversation altogether. That's not necessarily specific to this full moon. So, anyways, moving along. Moving along, we're going to get to Libras and Libra risings. Oh, my loves. This is a full moon in your 10th house of career, your goals, your public image, conjunct Mars. Some of these goals are going to get disrupted. Some of y'all going to have a rough week at work. And some of that rough week ain't going to be because you did certain things. It's going to be because somebody else did something. Why do I say that? Because Mars rules your 7th house of relationships and partnerships and legal matters. Yeah. Some of you are going to have some type of tension, some type of frustration in the workplace that's going to come through this week, not just in the full moon. I'm really meaning the entire week, because later this week, Venus, your chart ruler, is going to make that conjunction to Saturn in your 6th house, which is a health house, but it's also a work house. So we have some things this week that speak to some tensions and frustrations that are going to be dealt with because of other people. Other people are causing this disruption. And for some of you, this isn't new disruption. For some of you, it's a legal matter that's a long time coming. And now that it's coming back to the public eye, now that it's coming back into the forefront, it's just like divine timing. For some of you, that's going to be okay. For others, that's going to be a lot of pressure and a lot of frustration. There's a lot of shift. There's a lot of turn going on. Some of you were working on things before, putting certain things into perspective, feeling like everything was going to be great and hopeful. And you're going to realize that the opportunities that were provided, that were given once before, are not quite what you thought they were. And some of that's going to be based off of the way certain people around you start to show their true colors. For others, this is going to be based off of how you approach certain situations moving forward. But I want you to expect other people in some way, shape, or form to kind of show their ass this week, just because of where Mars is and what it rules for you. We have this Page of Wands energy. This is also very fiery card. Mars rules, again, Aries. In this regard, I'm sticking to Aries for you guys. I'm not necessarily looking at the fact that Mars rules your 2nd house of money. But then again, for you to have financial disruption, we still have to have the career disruption 9 times out of 10. So I'm sticking with the focus of Mars ruling the 7th house. New information, a new idea, something coming to light that is very, very disruptive, but it's not your disruption. It's not your idea. It is very much coming from someone else. Knight of Swords energy going into this as well. Someone that is trying to pursue how to move forward based off of all the information that has been provided. And whether that decision is correct or not doesn't really matter. It's just like we're flying by the seat of our pants. And there is something that is going to be deeply impacted in regards to your health this week, or the health of someone else, given the fact that Venus is making her first conjunction to Saturn. Now, for some of you, again, there are legal matters going on. Mars rules that 7th house of relationships, but also legal matters and lawsuits. And there is this element of divine timing with the Wheel of Fortune of certain things coming back around that are going to be disruptive. They're going to be frustrating. They're going to shake you to your core. And this is just the start of something. I want to be clear about that. The start. Mars is going to be retrograde in your 10th house of career until April, the end of April. This is the start of some disruption whenever it comes to things for you guys. Venus is conjunction to Saturn later this week. It's the start of that triple transit, because there will be 3 of those all together. That Wheel of Fortune energy is telling us it is time for a lot of new things to come to light, to come into focus. For some of you, you're going to be pursuing certain things, trying to get our heart's content in certain ways, and we're going to get met with certain frustrations. We have this Five of Cups energy, and we have the Ten of Wands. Now, the Five of Cups is being focused on what we are losing and not necessarily what we have and what we can do with what's available. We get very, very focused on what we've lost with the Five of Cups energy. But then whenever we have this Ten of Wands on top of that, what we are losing is also going to help unburden us in a multitude of ways. For some of us, by us losing out on certain things or having to move away from certain things, we're going to help other people become unburdened. And it's kind of a mixed bag in the energy. I want you guys to be prepared for the tension, the frustration. And again, this week is setting the stage for a lot of how things are going to go over the course of the next few months for you guys. And the things that come back into the forefront, that come into light, that come into focus, many of you are going to feel the weight, the pressure, the judgment coming in your direction. And I don't necessarily feel like for a lot of you that it's you. But I do want you to anticipate the disconnect and just certain things not going your way, not going to plan. And that's not going to be an easy pill to swallow for many of you. Okay. Moving this along. We're going to get to Scorpios and Scorpio risings. Oh, my loves. Okay. This is a full moon in the 9th house. Higher learning, long distance travel, your calling, your purpose, having something disruptive come through that forces you to travel, having some unexpected opportunity that forces you to look in a different direction, something that comes through that teaches you something so important in the moment. It's almost like a pivotal TED Talk. This is not in a heavy place whenever it comes to Scorpio risings. It's not. But it is a full moon in a conjunction to one of our chart rulers, Mars. There is something that is meant to teach us in this particular full moon. And it shows path and it shows direction. It shows things that test our faith. And there's a reason that Mars is going back into the 9th house. There's a reason that we need to learn certain things. And we are learning in the moment. We are learning through experience. For some of us, that is just trial and error to training. For others, it is to show us what's necessary or show us certain potentials of things with certain people that we surround ourselves with for a certain amount of hope, promise, and stability to come later. Later. It's not immediate. I'm not going to sugarcoat that by any means. But whenever it comes to the cards, arguably, our cards, Scorpio risings, like me, are the better of the cards that I've pulled so far. So let's start with that. All right, the heaviest of the cards is going to be the Seven of Swords energy. Some of the conversations need to be very, very logical. We need to trial and error. We need to double check every single thing, because whatever we are combating, whatever we are arguing, whatever we are discussing, whatever is turning around in the moment requires a certain amount of logic. And this is a combative card, but it's like a debate card. Well, if we can't do it this way, what about this? What if this is the option? What if this is what's wrong? What if this is the possibility? What if we tried it this way? What if we, what? And for a lot of us, that Seven of Swords feels exactly like that. What if? And a lot of you, the conversation that is being had has to do with people in your surroundings, the people around you. The thing about the 9th house is it is a travel house. It is an educational house. It's how we connect to institutions. And I want to be clear about institutions when I say this next part, because I have the Emperor card following this. Institutions can be anything tied to an institution. A bank is an institution. A hospital is an institution. A prison is an institution. Institutions on all levels, not just one level. and talking to certain people that are a little stuck in their ways and not necessarily willing to jump through hoops to get you certain answers. So there's a reason for the testing energy of the Seven of Swords and the Three of Wands. And many of you are going to find yourselves testing the limits of certain people that are a little stuck in their ways. You're testing the limits of your boss. You're testing the limits of a doctor. You're testing the limits of a bank manager or somebody that's a little bit more stuck in their ways. But again, we're learning in the moment and we're learning through experience whenever it comes to this part of the vibration. The next three cards that come through, again, what I said before is there's a reason Mars is retrograde back into our ninth house. It is so we can learn through the process, learn through experience. It is because later on, there's a certain amount of stability that needs to follow. We have the Four of Wands. I always look at the Four of Wands as like compare it to a chair. You want all four legs of the chair firmly on the ground before you put your ass on the seat because you don't want to fall. Four of Wands, followed by the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Coins. Try the new things, learn through experience. I'm not saying this message to everybody, but there are teachable moments around this full moon. Things that are going to teach you in regards to your direction, your path, your faith. Some of you, to learn, you have to move. You're going to have to migrate. And it doesn't have to be a long-term migration, but there's direction, there's path. You're booking tickets. You're looking at the possibilities and the potential because, again, wherever we're going next, whatever we're about to do, will not require us to sit still. And wherever we go next has a lot of promise and hope, given that Ten of Cups and the Ten of Coins. And this takes me to the results of everything that's going to be much more noticeable as we get into the second quarter, specifically late April, going into May and June. There's a lot of benefit. Yes, there's still disruption to come. Yes, there is still some learning experience. We're at the start of a learning experience, learning through living through new things, through new experiences. Based off of that alone, we have certain lessons that need to be learned, and some of those lessons are going to come through the hard way, but they're all necessary lessons. Again, Mars is retrograde in the ninth. It's teaching us something. Okay, moving this along. We're going to get to Sagittarius and Sagittarius risings. All right, my loves. This is a full moon in your eighth house. It's financial house. We're spending money, racking up that credit card a little bit, looking at new business opportunities, new potentials in career that, again, are going to affect our pocketbook. Some of us are having to spend money in the moment, knowing that later on we're going to make a lot more money just to make up for it. Oh, it's not a heavy energy for you guys. Actually feels very helpful. And I think it's also laying the groundwork this week, this full moon in Cancer, and all the energy around it as to what you do next in career, because the South Node is now in your 10th house. Now, I know you're not Mercury ruled, but I'm looking at the fact that Jupiter, your chart ruler, has been in Gemini since last summer. It's been 6-7 months now. So he'd been there a minute. He's in Mercury's sign, and Mercury is in your second house of money. So there's a lot of things that are speaking to the potential of money options and what we're going to be doing next in career. We don't have the same levels of trauma, frustration, brutality of Pluto in your second house of money anymore. So we have to work through some final little things about, old debts, old money issues. Oh, paying a few things off, cutting a few things off, so we can get more stable in where we want to go next. Now, for some of you, that's going to mean telling certain truths to certain people that they don't want to hear. The thing about the eighth house is it's also a secrets house. Not everybody wants to hear the secrets. Some of those secrets are going to come back up, whether you wanted them to or not, whether they like it or not. But a lot of what's about to come out, a lot of what's about to come to the surface, it's going to rock a lot of people around you guys. Now, in the most mundane sense, again, this is a full moon in your 8th house, which is a financial house. But goddamn, your cards say something very, very different. So we're going to start with that. 5 of coins. You no longer have Pluto in your 2nd house of money. The issues, the trauma, the triggers, the frustrations that you were having financially, they are done. They are over with, and we are not dealing with those same frustrations anymore. The focus now is going to be telling your story and communicating certain truths. Next card, Ace of Swords, certain truths that other people are not going to want to come to the surface. For some of you, whether it's your truth or someone else's truth, that's a different conversation. Once certain truths come to light and certain secrets come out, oh, the frustration, oh, the terror, oh, the trauma, the Tower card and the 10 of Swords. It's a lot of frustration for you guys, around you guys. Now, for some of you, this is going to have to do with family. The financial aspect of it could be something that deeply impacts your household. That's one way. And by impacting the household, we can also let go of certain traumas from the past. That would be a good thing. For some of us, it is coming to terms with certain things need to be over with and unburdening ourselves from certain truths. And again, there's going to be some people that they don't like the truth that's coming out. They don't like that new version of you. But that new version of you is necessary. And the people that do surround you, that do support you, that do care about you, they love this new version of you. And they want to do everything in their power to help you succeed, the World card, and help you get to that next form of stability with the 4 of Wands. Now, again, the 4 of Wands, I look at this card is you want all 4 chair legs to be level on the floor before you put your ass on the seat because you don't want to fall. So there's a certain amount of stability that we wish to acquire. But what's interesting is with the World card, in the tarot, the World card follows the Tower. After the structure breaks, after everything crumbles, after everything falls apart, what is reborn, what is the transformative side, what comes through next, it is a whole different vibration. And the World card, following this Tower card, says that where you go next to have certain stability means certain cutoffs, certain shakeups. It means letting certain secrets come out so that way they don't weigh you down anymore. Or if it's secrets about another person, but it still impacts you, watching as karma just lets shit come up and come up and come up and come up and come up. And you don't have to do a thing. You just be like, oh, I was wondering when that was going to come out. Oh, I was wondering when you were going to show your true colors. Oh, hey. I was wondering how that was going to come through. There it is. There you are. That's interesting. Do I feel like in the moment of this full moon that all of you are going to be going through something harsh? Maybe some of you. But for the majority, not really. Some of you are going to be going through some very heavy situations tied to legal matters. Jupiter is in your 7th, your chart ruler. This is a full moon in your 8th. This can have to do with payouts, insurance payouts, legal payouts, that type of thing. But it could also mean finally changing the way you are committed to other people in a very financial way, which would be a lot more leaning more into that World and 4 of Wands card and the giving stability. Oh, for others, you're going to have to take out certain debts to potentially launch something new in regards to career. And that's not immediate to the full moon. That's going to be more of things that transpire over the course of the entire first quarter of this year. So that's not one specific vibration whenever I say that part. Okay. Okay. Moving along. We're going to get to Capricorns and Capricorn risings. All right, my loves, this is a full moon in your 7th house of other people and their relationships, partnerships, having issues with a partner, having issues with a legal matter. Oh, Mars rules your 11th house of friends and network and clients and colleagues. Some of you might be having issues with a friend. Others can be having issues specifically with your family. Why do I say that? Because Mars rules your 4th house of home life, and family. Mars is retrograde in your 7th house. Can be bringing up people from the past. It can create a whole different level of attention in your direction from people that you would normally not even talk to, not commit to, not work with. And that's Mars's retrograde in your 7th. Oh, some of you are having issues in relationship. You're having tensions in relationship. You can be having issues with a legal matter. You could be having all of the above with this full moon in your 7th house of, again, legal matters, relationship, and things along these lines. Certain things are needing to come to light. Certain things are needing to come back into focus. Some of it is going to be good whenever it comes to this full moon. Others are going to feel like a whole different level in the vibration. Some of you are being tested on whether you have broke certain toxic patterns. There's a card that just came through that speaks to that, by the way. Because again, recognizing the old patterns, falling away from old habits and old situations is very, very important for you on how you move forward next. We have this Knight of Coin energy. Now, this is an Earth card, so this is actually very much more a Capricorn card than it is the Cancer card. So I'm going to be clear about that part. For you to be able to achieve the things that you wish to achieve, King of Coins, then we have to recognize that not everything is fun and games whenever it comes to the new people that are coming into our path. So we have the 6 of Cups, which is quite literally a card of fun and games. It is a joyful card. It is an aspect card of this delight. But then we also have this Knight of Wands. In girl talk, the Knight of Wands is kind of a fuckboy card. But not all of you Capricorn risings that listen to me deal with girl talk. So just hear me out. There can be certain people that get put in front of you to test you, to distract you, to do things that aren't necessarily beneficial to the long run. This again is a full moon in your 7th house of relationships and commitments, conjunct Mars. Some of you are literally having somebody come into your peripheral to distract you from where you need to focus on things. But sometimes that's a necessary distraction because they're pivotal to help you turn into a different direction. For many of you, there is a distraction coming through. For others, whenever it comes to this full moon in Cancer, there are tensions, there are frustrations, there are arguments that are going to be surrounding another person and or the family, because again, Mars rules your 4th house of home life, and family. Now, why do I say that for some of you, again, this is a test of old patterns. Oh, hey, looky here. It's the Devil card. Following that Knight of Wands, by the way, it's the Devil card. The toxicity, the old wounds, the old habits. Have we reformed? Have we let them go? Some of you have not been able to break old habits. You do certain things that are either to your own detriment, or you just fall into certain things with other people, expecting the best out of them, but then seeing the other side come through very, very quickly. And this Devil card speaks to, again, testing toxic patterns. Now, for some of you, it's not a test at all. There's somebody very specific in your life, in your household, that their vibration, their frustration, their shit that's coming through, it's putting a lot of things onto you, and it's putting additional stress onto your family. And again, it is trying to get you to break some old habits. Why do I say that? Because the devil card was followed by the death card. This is a card of transformation. This is a card of letting go of old wounds, old habits, old topics, old situations. So that way the promise of something new, 10 of coins, is going to come through. I needed to say some long-term things for you guys to make something very, very clear. Mars is retrograde back into your 7th house of relationships from January to April. 4 months, just rounding it out. You had him for 2 months of last year, but he was putting certain people and certain things into place for you to see them. Once Mars turns direct, if you're leaning into the Knight of Wands energy right now, girls, ladies, you're leaning into the, that distraction energy right now. When Mars turns direct, you won't see the distraction in the same way. I want to be clear about that. Your opinion will change. Their attitude will change. Actions will change. Desires will change. And again, it is making you try to recognize your own toxic patterns. Whether it's leaning into certain people that are a little bit more toxic, whether we're leaning into just, I want a bunch of crazies to like knock the cobwebs out, or if it's making us see and focus on things in a different way. There's a teachable energy in the course of this Mars retrograde. And for many of you, it is teaching you in a relationship aspect. If you can let go of the old patterns with this death card, the promise that comes through later with this 10 of coins is magnanimous. Why do I say later? Oh, I'm specifically saying after next summer. Because Jupiter, a planet that can also bring husbands and long-term commitment and long-term growth and long-term potential, is going to come into your 7th house of relationships in June, specifically June 9th. And he'll be there for a year. There is potential in the long run. You have to recognize the energy of tests and recognize that some things can be a little too good to be true when it comes to that Knight of Wands energy. For other people, this is going to have to do with legal matters. This is going to have to do with partnerships. This is having to do with your family. This is having to do with your actual household. For some of you, it's a little bit of all of the above. But we are in a testing energy, and it is testing your ability to say no, your ability to let go, your ability to not be the end all be all for everyone. You have to let go of old patterns so you can have the promise later. Okay, moving this along. We're going to get to Aquarius and Aquarius risings. Oh, my loves. Go back. Okay. This is a full moon in your 6th house of health, your health. How you care for yourself, how you care for other people. This is something changing in your routine. There can be something very disrupted in your routine this week. There could be something very harmful in regards to health this week. There could be something that happens with a pet. I do not wish anything bad on anybody, but Mars is retrograde in your 6th house, which is a pet house. So there can be something that has to do with pets. If that's the case, I'm sorry. But it is the truth. It can come through. Now, for many of you, that disruption in your routine is making you aware of more and more things that you need to let go of so you can focus more on yourself moving forward. And for some of you, whatever you're focusing on next is also going to be stuff that impacts your home life, your finances, and your children because of the other planets involved. Now, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of preparation to be had. And there will be tensions, frustration, and arguments when it comes to the vibrations around this week. And I need you guys to be prepared that over the course of this week, while the sun is wrapping up its trip through Capricorn and slowly moving into Aquarius, There can be some things that you did not completely understand that have been slightly going on behind your back. That after this full moon, and just basically as this week progresses, it's like things that have been going on behind your back falling onto your plate. And you becoming more and more aware of something that you're going to have to start dealing with that you might not have been dealing with before. And again, this is still going to be something that disrupts your routine, given the fact that we're still talking about a full moon in your sixth house of health, how you care for yourself, how you care for other people, how you are of service. There is disruption in this week. What I'm looking at for you guys is Uranus is in a trine to the sun. Uranus, one of your chart rulers, has been in your fourth house of home, home life, and family forever. And some of you are starting to recognize that for you to finally have changes that you desire in the household within your family, then we have to do some different things in our routine. We have to do some different things all the way around. We have to let go of an old pattern and finally allow for new things to start to take shape. There is this vibration in the cards that speaks to a whole different shift in focus for you guys. And we're going to start it out with this 10 of Swords. There's something that has to come to a close so you can start to focus on the better form of who you are going to start transforming into. And now I'm focused on the fact that we also have a Sun-Pluto conjunction coming up right at the start of next week. Not this week, the start of next week. So we're coming more and more into focus with the things that we need to let go of with this 10 of Swords. For some of you, that means getting a lot of work done, either work around the house, actual work done, like going to your workplace, and getting prepared for how we turn some things around with this 4 of Swords. Getting prepared for where we go next, where we move next, Sun trine Uranus. And putting a certain amount of money down. I'm thinking now Mars is trying to Neptune, Neptune's aspect to the full moon. Putting money down to create a new routine. There is disruption here. Paying for something in our health? Sure, absolutely. But there is something more disruptive in regards to the Uranus element involved with this full moon. And there can be some unexpected opportunities that finally allow for you to close out some of these things and let go of the past. Now, we have this Devil card. We have this 5 of Swords, which is a conflict card. And we have the Page of Cups. Hear me out. For some of you, whatever is coming through in your disruption has to do with somebody else. It has to do with the other side. And that really comes down to the fact that Mars's retrograde started in Leo, which is your 7th house of relationships and partnerships and other freaking people. So we had a lot of things tied to another person that for many of you kind of took you back to an old place. It made you go deal with old wounds. It's made you want to retreat. But the more and more your buttons get pressed, the more and more people test your boundaries, the more and more you feel like your kids, Page of Cups, kids are getting pushed or getting affected. I'm just going to say affected. The more and more it's going to make you want to break away from certain patterns with that Devil card. And it's going to push for more and more of that conflict to come out. But here's the deal. After some of these transits start to move into Aquarius and they start to come into your first house, Pluto's there and he's going to be there for the next 20 some odd years. So we're there. But whenever the sun comes into Aquarius and then later whenever Mercury comes into Aquarius, you won't have as many things going on behind your back, but you're going to be getting forced to make decisions and react to certain things based off of how they're falling onto your plate. I need Aquarius risings to expect the unexpected. Uranus is involved with this transit, but I also need you guys to understand that there's a couple things that are meant to come through to trigger you into making some changes. And trigger is the only word that I have. And once you face whatever this part of the vibration is, especially at the first part of next week, which is a little bit past this full moon's energy, but there's something coming with the Sun Pluto, and that is actually more exact, like Monday, Tuesday of next week. Once you face certain things, it is going to allow you to make decisions to cut things out, to move away from things, to go in a different direction. And that'll be a good thing. Okay, moving us along. We're going to get to Pisces and Pisces risings. Last but never least, my loves, this is a full moon in your fifth house of love and luck and romance and joy and happiness and children. Some of you have disruptions going around your children. Why do I say that? Because Mars is now retrograde in your fifth house of love and luck and joy and romance and happiness and children. Some of you are going to be having some disruptions in regards to your actual love life. And some of you are going to have to pull the plug on certain connections, on certain relationships, on certain things. Now, some of you, it's not a relationship. You're trying to build a friendship. You're trying to build something different in regards to your family. I know how some of the transits went for many of you in regards to those last few weeks of December. Oh, but you're going to have to put your foot down on a couple of things, some of the things that you weren't necessarily anticipating. And there's going to be some challenges involved because you're going to have to put your foot down. There's going to be some tension. There's going to be some arguments. There's going to be some frustration. There's going to be some emotional responses and projecting in regards to a lot of this full moon. Now, why do I say that? Because it's a full moon in a very emotional place. Saturn is in your first house, which Saturn is not playing anymore, and y'all ain't playing either. You are feeling the weight of the world and the responsibility of everything. And that responsibility means not putting up with other people's nonsense. And again, putting your foot down in regards to how certain people are acting and certain people are behaving is going to make certain truths come to light. And for many of you, this is not just you and one person. This is you and a multitude of people, whether that is relationship multitude, whether that's a family multitude. There's multitudes of people coming out because of how your cards came out. Like I got 3 queens here. I'd be doing really good in some poker. That's for sure. And some people are just not going to like that version of you. And what I'm thinking of now is the fact that by the end of the week, we're going to have Venus and Saturn hit that conjunction in your first house, which is going to force for a lot of you to be the ones that are going to be passing judgment based off how this week is going to go. There can be one level of disruption at the start of the week that by the end of the week makes you very harsh to judge another person. You can't take my kid anymore. You can't do this thing anymore. You can't go in this direction. And many of you are going to have to make a very harsh decision, Queen of Swords, by the way, putting your foot down, and it's going to be met with tension and argument. We have the Seven of Swords card. Now, this is like a debate card whenever it comes to the Seven of Swords, but so we're arguing, but we're arguing from a point of logic. We're trying to get someone to see our point of view, whether they can or not, is a very different conversation. Some of them are just going to be very, very emotional, and they're going to say that you are just being mean to them. And with that Queen of Cups energy, they're like, why can't you just see things my way? Why can't you see I'm just trying to help? And that Queen of Cups is just not seeing the truth from your perspective. They're not seeing things from your perspective. And there's like a debate energy going on, especially between you and another person, especially as we get closer into the weekend. I feel like for a lot of Pisces risings, there's one disruption that happens around the full moon. And then by the end of the week, it puts us into a thing where we're having to have conversations with other people about what's important, what's the routine, how we do something moving forward. And again, you guys are going to be casting a lot of judgment. Oh, putting your foot down and making certain decisions as to how something is going to go from here. So we got our next 3 cards. We have this Five of Swords, which is still a combative card. It's still an argumentative card. This one's like arguing just to argue. That we're not necessarily getting a point across. So in some ways, we're trying to get a point across with the Seven of Swords, but with the Five of Swords, sometimes that point is not coming across no matter what. We have the Magician card. There's something about the Magician card for you guys that I feel like some people just want to make some shit up. I hate saying that, but it's true. The magician card, it's an alchemist card. It's taking a bunch of material and creating something. It's very MacGyver. But in the way that I'm feeling with your guys' energy, some people are going to be telling telling a long story, trying to empower you and impassion you to go their direction with the Queen of Wands. They're trying to uplift in some ways, they're trying to inspire in others, they're trying to get a certain response out of you. And some of you are going to make the decision to believe and lean into something. And that still speaks through that queen. I'm not queen. I'm sorry. I'm queen down here, but that Venus Saturn conjunction that's coming. You guys are going to be making certain decisions this week, specifically at the end of the week, that are going to have a bigger vibration. They're going to be a bigger part of the story. They're going to have a bigger footprint for you come March and April. The things that you agree to do, the things that you take on right now, the responsibilities that you do right now. And it's going to lead to either disruptions around your loved ones, around kids, but it doesn't mean that you're wrong. But there's a lot of players in the decisions this week. Make logical, well thought decisions. Do not lean into your intuition because there is some part of whatever is about to happen that you're not seeing clearly. So make logical decisions, but also listen to your gut and listen to your intuition. Okay. I love and appreciate every single one of you. Hit me up with questions, hit me up with concerns. My contact information is listed in the description of every single episode. I try not to make the closings on this very, very heavy because there's so much going on anyway. So I'll talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.